Good morning and welcome to the 16th video in our stay-at-home social distancing series of Kung Fu. I am Joey Haber from the Flying Tortoise Academy in Portland, Oregon. Having just finished up the BaGua Linear 64 and breakdown, we're going to take a minute today and just go back and review some fundamental circle walking. We're going to do about half an hour of that. We're also going to do our ShuiJiao low back openings and a bit of internal power generation using the 64 exercises as kind of the foundation for all that. I hope you're all doing great. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and yeah, if you have any requests or comments, just let me know. Let's have some fun.
Down to the AREC for free separation, and thus it wasn't coming back in as a liquid in need of heating. Remember, the RTG gives off heat all the time. You can't stop it, so the heat just built up. Eventually things reached a balance point where the heat bled through the hull as fast as the RTG could add it. If you're curious, that balance point was a sweltering 41 degrees Celsius. I did a full diagnostic on the regulator and the oxygenator, and I'm happy to report both are working perfectly. The RTG's water tank was empty, which is no surprise. It has an open top, not intended to be turned upside down. The floor of the trailer has a lot of puddled water that took me quite a while to sop up with my jumpsuit. I topped the tank off with some more water from a sealed container that I'd stored in the trailer earlier. Remember, I need that water to have something for the returning air to bubble through. That's my heating system. But all things considered, it was good news. The critical components are working fine, and both vehicles are back on their wheels. The hoses that connected the rover and trailer were designed well, and released without breaking. I simply snapped them back into place, and the vehicles were sharing life support again. The one remaining thing to fix was the tow hook. It was absolutely ruined. It took the full force of the crash. But as I suspected, the trailer's tow hook was unscathed, so I transferred it to the rover and reconnected the two vehicles for travel. All told, that little fender bender cost me 4 souls. But now I'm back in action. Sort of. What if I run into another powder pit? I got lucky this time. Next time, I might not get off so easy. I need a way to know if the ground in front of me is safe, at least for the duration of my time on the ramp. Once I'm in the Schiaparelli Basin proper, I can count on the normal sandy terrain I'm used to. If I could have anything, it would be a radio to ask NASA the safe path down the ramp. Well, if I could have anything, it would be for the green-skinned yet beautiful Queen of Mars to rescue me so she can learn more about this Earth thing called love-making. It's been a long time since I've seen a woman. Just saying. Anyway, to ensure I don't crash again, seriously, no women in like years. I don't ask for much. Believe me, even back on Earth, a botanist / mechanical engineer doesn't exactly have ladies lined up at the door, but still, come on. Anyway, I'll drive slower, like a crawl. That should give me enough time to react if one wheel starts to sink. Also, the lower speed will give me more torque, making it less likely I'll lose traction. Up till now, I've been driving 25 kilometers per hour, so I'm going to cut that to 5 kilometers per hour. I'm still toward the top of the ramp, but the whole thing is only 45 kilometers. I can take my time and get safely to the bottom in about 8 hours. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm already out of daylight again today. That's another bonus. Once I clear the ramp, I can start beelining toward the MAV, which will take me away from the crater wall. I'll be back to enjoying the entire day's sunlight instead of just half of it. If I get back to Earth, I'll be famous, right? A fearless astronaut who beat all the odds, right? I bet women like that. More motivation to stay alive. So it looks like he's fixed everything, Mindy explained. And his message today was all better now. So I guess he's got everything working. She surveyed the smiling faces in the meeting room. Awesome, Mitch said. Great news, Bruce's voice came in through the speakerphone. Venkat leaned forward to the phone. How are the MAV modification plans coming, Bruce? Is JPL going to have that procedure soon? We're working around the clock on it, Bruce said. We're past most of the big hurdles. Working out the details now. Good, Venkat said. Any surprises I should know about? Bruce said. Yeah, a few. This might not be the best venue for it. I'll be back in Houston with the procedure in a day or two. We can go through it then. Ominous, Venkat said. But okay, we'll pick it up later. Can I spread the word? Andy asked. It'd be nice to see something other than the rover crash site on the news tonight. Definitely, Beckett said. It'll be nice to have some good news for a change. Mindy, how long until he gets to the MAV? At his usual rate of 90 kilometers per sol, Mindy said. He should get there on Sol 504. Sol 505 if he takes his time. He always drives in the early morning, finishing around noon. She checked an application on her laptop. Noon on Sol 504 will be 11:41 a.m. this Wednesday here in Houston. Noon on Sol 505 will be 12:21 p.m. on Thursday. Mitch, who's handling Ares 4 MAV communications? The Ares 3 mission control team, Mitch replied. It'll be in control room 2. I assume you'll be there? Bet your ass I'll be there. So will I. Log entry. Sol 502. Every Thanksgiving, my family used to drive from Chicago to Sandusky, an 8-hour drive. It's where Mom's sister lived. Dad always drove, and he was the slowest, most cautious driver who ever took the wheel. Seriously, he drove like he was taking a driver's test. Never exceeded the speed limit, always had his hands at 10 and 2, adjusted mirrors before each outing, you name it. It was infuriating. We'd be on the freeway, cars blowing by left and right. Some of them would blare their horns because, honestly, driving the speed limit makes you a road hazard. I wanted to get out and push. I felt that way all damn day today. 5 kilometers per hour is literally a walking pace. And I drove that speed for 8 hours. But the slow speed ensured that I wouldn't fall into any more powder pits along the way. And of course, I didn't encounter any. I could have driven full speed and had no problems, but better safe than sorry. The good news is I'm off the ramp. I camped out as soon as the terrain flattened out. I've already overdone my driving time for the day. I could go further. I still have 15% battery power or so, but I want to get as much daylight on my solar cells as I can. I'm in the Schiaparelli Basin at last, far from the crater wall too. I get a full day of sunlight every day from now on. I decided it was time for a very special occasion. I ate the meal pack labeled, "Survived something that should have killed me." Oh my God, I forgot how good real food tastes. With luck, I'll get to eat a rival in a few sols. Log entry. Sol 503. I didn't get as much recharge as I usually would yesterday. Because of my extended driving time, I only got up to 70% before night fell. So today's driving was abbreviated. I got 63 kilometers before I had to camp out again. But I don't even mind, because I'm only 148 kilometers from the MAV. That means I'll get there the sol after tomorrow. Holy hell, I'm really going to make it. Log entry. Sol 504. Holy shit, this is awesome. Holy shit, holy shit. Okay, calm. I made 90 kilometers today. By my estimate, I'm 50 kilometers from the MAV. I should get there sometime tomorrow. I'm excited about that, but here's what I'm really stoked about. I caught a blip from the MAV. NASA has the MAV broadcasting the Ares 3 HAB homing signal. Why wouldn't they? It makes perfect sense. The MAV is a sleek, perfectly functional machine ready to do what it's told, and they have it pretending to be the Ares 3 HAB, so my rover will see the signal and tell me where it is. That is an exceptionally good idea. I won't have to wander around looking for the thing. I'm going straight to it. I only caught a blip. I'll get more as I get closer. It's strange to think that a sand dune will stop me from hearing what the MAV has to say when it can talk to Earth, no problem. The MAV has 3 redundant methods of communicating with Earth, but they're all extremely directed and are designed for line-of-sight communication. And there aren't any sand dunes between it and Earth when they talk. Somehow they messed with things to make a radial signal, however weak it may be. And I heard it. My message for the day was, got beacon signal. If I'd had enough rocks, I would have added awesome idea. But it's a really sandy area. The MAV waited in southwestern Schiaparelli. It stood an impressive 27 meters tall, its conical body gleaming in the midday sun. The rover crested a nearby dune with the trailer in tow. It slowed for a few moments, then continued toward the ship at top speed. It came to a stop 20 meters away. There it remained for 10 minutes while the astronaut inside suited up. He stumbled excitedly out of the airlock, falling to the ground, then scrambling to his feet. Beholding the MAV, he gestured to it with both arms as if in disbelief. He leaped into the air several times, arms held high with fists clenched. Then he knelt on one knee and fist pumped repeatedly. Running to the spacecraft, he hugged landing strut B. After a few moments, he broke off the embrace to perform another round of leaping celebrations. Now fatigued, the astronaut stood with arms akimbo, looking up at the sleek lines of the engineering marvel before him. Climbing the ladder on the landing stage, he reached the ascent stage and entered the airlock. He sealed the door behind him. Chapter 25. Log entry. Sol 505. I finally made it. I'm at the MAV. Well, right this second I'm back in the rover. I did go into the MAV to do a systems check and boot up. I had to keep my EVA suit on the whole time because there's no life support in there just yet. It's going through a self-check right now, and I'm feeding it oxygen and nitrogen with hoses from the rover. This is all part of the MAV's design. It doesn't bring air along. Why would it? That's a needless weight when you'll have a hat full of air right next door. I'm guessing folks at NASA are popping champagne right now and sending me lots of messages. I'll read them in a bit. First things first, get the MAV some life support. Then I'll be able to work inside comfortably. And then I'll have a boring conversation with NASA. Well, the content may be interesting, but the 14-minute transmission time between here and Earth will be a bit dull. 1300 hours, 7 minutes. Houston. Congratulations from all of us here at Mission Control. Well done. What's your status? 1300 hours, 21 minutes. MAV. Thanks. No health or physical problems. The rover and trailer are getting pretty worn out, but still functional. Oxygenator and regulator both working fine. I didn't bring the water reclaimer. Just brought the water. Plenty of potatoes left. I'm good to last till 5:49. 1300 hours, 36 minutes. Houston. Glad to hear it. Hermes is still on track for a Sol 549 flyby. As you know, the MAV will need to lose some weight to make the intercept. We're going to get you those procedures within the day. How much water do you have? What did you do with urine? 1300 hours, 50 minutes. MAV. I have 550 liters of remaining water. I've been dumping urine outside along the way. 1400 hours, 5 minutes. Houston. Preserve all water. Don't do any more urine dumps. Store it somewhere. Turn the rover's radio on and leave it on. We can contact it through the MAV. Bruce trudged into Venkat's office and unceremoniously plopped down in a chair. He dropped his briefcase and let his arms hang limp. Have a good flight? Venkat asked. I only have a passing memory of what sleep is, Bruce said. So is it ready? Venkat asked. Yes, it's ready, but you're not going to like it. Go on. Bruce steeled himself and stood, picking up his briefcase. He pulled a booklet from it. Bear in mind, this is the end result of thousands of hours of work, testing, and lateral thinking by all the best guys at JPL. I'm sure it was hard to trim down a ship that's already designed to be as light as possible, Venkat said. Bruce slid the booklet across the desk to Venkat. The problem is the intercept velocity. The MAV is designed to get to low Mars orbit, which only requires 4.1 kilometers per second. But the Hermes flyby will be at 5.8 kilometers per second. Venkat flipped through the pages. Care to summarize? First, we're going to add fuel. The MAV makes its own fuel from the Martian atmosphere, but it's limited by how much hydrogen it has. It brought enough to make 19,397 kilograms of fuel, as it was designed to do. If we can give it more hydrogen, it can make more. How much more? every kilogram of hydrogen, it can make 13 kilograms of fuel. Watney has 550 liters of water. We'll have him electrolyze it to get 60 kilograms of hydrogen. Bruce reached over the desk and flipped a few pages, pointing to a diagram. The fuel plant can make 780 kilograms of fuel from that. If he electrolyzes his water, what'll he drink? He only needs 50 liters for the time he has left, and the human body only borrows water. We'll have him electrolyze his urine too. We need all the hydrogen we can get our hands on. I see. And what does 780 kilograms of fuel buy us? Venkat asked. It buys us 300 kilograms of payload. It's all about fuel versus payload. The MAV's launch weight is over 12,600 kilograms. Even with the bonus fuel, we'll need to get that down to 7,300 kilograms. So the rest of this booklet is how to remove over 5,000 kilograms from the ship. Venkat leaned back. Walk me through it. Bruce pulled another copy of the booklet from his briefcase. There were some gimmies right off the bat. The design presumes 500 kilograms of Martian soil and rock samples. Obviously, we won't do that. Also, there's just one passenger instead of 6. That saves 500 kilograms when you consider their weight plus their suits and gear. And we can lose the other 5 acceleration chairs. And of course, we'll remove all non-essential gear. The med kit, toolkit, internal harnessing, straps, and anything else that isn't nailed down. And some stuff that is. Next up, he continued, we're ditching all life support. The tanks, pumps, heaters, airlines, CO2, absorption system, even the insulation on the inner side of the hull. We don't need it. We'll have Watney wear his EVA suit for the whole trip. Won't that make it awkward for him to use the controls? Venkat asked. He won't be using them, Bruce said. Major Martinez will pilot the MAV remotely from Hermes. It's already designed for remote piloting. It was remotely landed, after all. But if something goes wrong, Venkat asked. Martinez is the best trained pilot, Bruce said. If there is an emergency, he's the guy you want controlling the ship. Venkat said cautiously. We've never had a manned ship controlled remotely before, but okay, go on. Since Watney won't be flying the ship, Bruce continued, he won't need the controls. We'll ditch the control panels and all the power and data lines that lead to them. Wow, Venkat said. You're really gutting this thing. I'm just getting started, Bruce said. The power needs will be dramatically reduced now that life support is gone. So we'll dump 3 of the 5 batteries and the auxiliary power system. The orbital maneuvering system has 3 redundant thrusters. We'll get rid of those. Also, the secondary and tertiary comm systems can go. Wait, what? Venkat said, shocked. You're going to have a remote-controlled ascent with no backup comm systems? No point, Bruce said. If the comm system goes out during ascent, the time it takes to reacquire will be too long to do any good. The backups don't help us. This is getting really risky, Bruce. Bruce sighed. I know. There's just no other way. And I'm not even to the nasty stuff yet. Venkat rubbed his forehead. By all means, tell me the nasty stuff. We'll remove the nose airlock, the windows, and hull panel 19. Venkat blinked. You're taking the front of the ship off? Sure, Bruce said. The nose airlock alone is 400 kilograms. The windows are pretty damn heavy too, and they're connected by hull panel 19, so may as well take that too. So he's going to launch with a big hole in front of the ship. We'll have him cover it with hab canvas. Hab canvas. For a launch to orbit. Bruce shrugged. The hull's mostly there to keep the air in. Mars's atmosphere is so thin you don't need a lot of streamlining. By the time the ship's going fast enough for air resistance to matter, it'll be high enough that there's practically no air. We've run all the simulations. Should be good. You're sending him to space under a tarp. Pretty much, yeah. Like a hastily loaded pickup truck. Yeah. Can I go on? pressure vessel. It's the only other panel he can remove with the tools on hand. Also, we're getting rid of the auxiliary fuel pump. Sad to see it go, but it weighs too much for its usefulness. And we're nixing a stage 1 engine. An engine? Yeah, the stage 1 booster works fine if one engine goes out. It'll save us a huge amount of weight. Only during the stage 1 ascent, but still, pretty good fuel savings. Bruce fell silent. That it? Venkat asked. Yeah. Venkat sighed. You've removed most of the safety backups. What's this do to the estimated odds of failure? It's about 4%. Jesus Christ, Venkat said. Normally we'd never even consider something that risky. It's all we've got, Venk, Bruce said. We've tested it all out and run simulations galore. We should be okay if everything works the way it's supposed to. Yeah, great, Venkat said. 0800 hours, 41 minutes. MAV. You fucking kidding me? 0800 hours, 55 minutes. Houston. Admittedly, they are very invasive modifications, but they have to be done. The procedure doc we sent has instructions for carrying out each of these steps with tools you have on hand. Also, you'll need to start electrolyzing water to get the hydrogen for the fuel plant. We'll send you procedures for that shortly. 0900 hours, 9 minutes. MAV. You're sending me into space in a convertible. 0900 hours, 24 minutes. Houston. There will be HAB canvas covering the holes. It will provide enough aerodynamics in Mars's atmosphere. 0900 hours, 38 minutes. MAV. So it's a ragtop. Much better. Log entry. Sol 506. On the way here, in my copious free time, I designed a workshop. I figured I'd need space to work on stuff without having to wear an EPA suit. I devised a brilliant plan whereby the current bedroom would become the new home of the regulator and the oxygenator, and the now empty trailer would become my workshop. It's a stupid idea, and I'm not doing it. All I need is a pressurized area that I can work in. I somehow convinced myself that the bedroom wasn't an option, because it's a hassle to get stuff into it. But it won't be that bad. It attaches to the rover airlock, so the getting stuff in is going to be annoying. Bring the stuff into the rover, attach the bedroom to the airlock from the inside, inflate it, bring the stuff into the bedroom. I'll also have to empty the bedroom of all tools and equipment to fold it up anytime I need to do an EVA. So yeah, it'll be annoying, but all it costs me is time. And I'm actually doing well on that front. I have 43 more souls before Hermes flies by. Looking at the procedure NASA has in mind for the modifications, I can take advantage of the MAV itself as a workspace. The lunatics at NASA have me doing all kinds of rape to the MAV, but I don't have to open the hull till the end. So the first thing I'll do is clear out a bunch of clutter, like chairs and control panels and the like. Once they're out, I'll have a lot of room in there to work. But I didn't do anything to the soon-to-be mutilated MAV today. Today was all about system checks. Now that I'm back in contact with NASA, I have to go back to being all safety first. Strangely, NASA doesn't have total faith in my clutched-together rover or my method of piling everything into the trailer. They have me do a full systems check on every single component. Everything's still working fine, though it's wearing down. The regulator and the oxygenator are at less than peak efficiency, to say the least, and the trailer leaks some air every day. Not enough to cause problems, but it's not a perfect seal. NASA's pretty uncomfortable with it, but we don't have any other options. Then they had me run a full diagnostic on the MAV. That's in much better shape. Everything's sleek and pristine and perfectly functional. I'd almost forgotten what new hardware even looks like. Pity I'm going to tear it apart. You killed Lotney, Lewis said. Yeah, Martinez said, scowling at his monitor. The words, collision with terrain, blinked accusingly. I pulled a nasty trick on him, Johansson said. I gave him a malfunctioning altitude readout and made engine 3 cut out too early. It's a deadly combination. Shouldn't have been a mission failure, Martinez said. I should have noticed the readout was wrong. It was way off. Don't sweat it, Lewis said. That's why we drill. Aye, Commander, Martinez said. He furrowed his brow and frowned at the screen. Lewis waited for him to snap out of it. When he didn't, she put a hand on his shoulder. Don't beat yourself up, she said. They only gave you 2 days of remote launch training. It was only supposed to happen if we aborted before landing. A cut-our-losses scenario where we'd launch the MAV to act as a satellite. It wasn't mission critical, so they didn't drill you too hard on it. Now that Mark's life depends on it, you've got 3 weeks to get it right. And I have no doubt you can do it. Aye, Commander, Martinez said, softening his scowl. Resetting the sim, Johansson said. Anything specific you want to try? Surprise me, Martinez said. Lewis left the control room and made her way to the reactor. As she climbed up the ladder to the center of the ship, the centripetal force on her diminished to 0. Vogel looked up from a computer console. Commander, how are the engines? She asked, grabbing a wall-mounted handle to stay attached to the slowly turning room. All working within tolerance, Vogel said. I'm now doing a diagnostic on the reactor. I'm thinking that Johansson is busy with the launching training, so perhaps I do this diagnostic for her. Good idea, Lewis said. And how's our course? All is well, Vogel said. No adjustments necessary. We are still on track to plan trajectory within 4 meters. Keep me posted if anything changes. Yeah, Commander. Floating to the other side of the core, Lewis took the other ladder out, again gaining gravity as she went down. She made her way to the airlock 2 ready room. Beck held a coil of metal wire in one hand and a pair of work gloves in the other. Hey, Commander, what's up? I'd like to know your plan for recovering Mark. Easy enough if the intercept is good, Beck said. I just finished attaching all the tethers we have into one long line. It's 214 meters long. I'll have the MMU pack on, so moving around will be easy. I can get going up to around 10 meters per second safely. Any more and I risk breaking the tether if I can't stop in time. Once you get to Mark, how fast a relative velocity can you handle? I can grab the MAV easily at 5 meters per second. 10 meters per second is kind of like jumping onto a moving train. Anything more than that and I might miss. So including the MMU safe speed, we need to get the ship within 20 meters per second of his velocity. And the intercept has to be within 214 meters, Beck said. Pretty narrow margin of error. We've got a lot of leeway, Lewis said. The launch will be 52 minutes before the intercept, and it takes 12 minutes. As soon as Mark's S2 engine cuts out, we'll know our intercept point and velocity. If we don't like it, we'll have 40 minutes to correct. Our engine's 2 millimeters per second may not seem like much, but in 40 minutes, it can move us up to 5.7 kilometers. Good, Beck said. And 214 meters isn't a hard limit per se. Yes, it is, Lewis said. Nah, Beck said. I know I'm not supposed to go untethered, but without my leash I could get way out there. Not an option, Lewis said. But we could double or even triple our safe intercept range. We're done talking about this, Lewis said sharply. Aye, Commander. Log entry. Sol 526. There aren't many people who can say they've vandalized a $3 billion spacecraft, but I'm one of them. I've been pulling critical hardware out of the MAV left and right. It's nice to know that my launch to orbit won't have any pesky backup systems weighing me down. First thing I did was remove the small stuff. Then came the things I could disassemble, like the crew seats, several of the backup systems, and the control panels. I'm not improvising anything. I'm following a script sent by NASA, which was set up to make things as easy as possible. Sometimes I miss the days when I made all the decisions myself. Then I shake it off and remember I'm infinitely better off with a bunch of geniuses deciding what I do than I am making shit up as I go along. Periodically I suit up, crawl into the airlock with as much junk as I can fit, and dump it outside. The area around the MAV looks like the set of Sanford and Son. I learned about Sanford and Son from Lewis's collection. Seriously, that woman needs to see someone about her 70s problem. Log entry. Sol 529. I'm turning water into rocket fuel. It's easier than you'd think. Separating hydrogen and oxygen only requires a couple of electrodes and some current. The problem is collecting the hydrogen. I don't have any equipment for pulling hydrogen out of the air. The atmospheric regulator doesn't even know how. The last time I had to get hydrogen out of the air, back when I turned the hab into a bomb, I burned it to turn it into water. Obviously, that would be counterproductive. But NASA thought everything through and gave me a process. First, I disconnected the rover and trailer from each other. Then, while wearing my EVA suit, I depressurized the trailer and backfilled it with pure oxygen at 1/4 of an atmosphere. Then I opened a plastic box full of water and put a couple of electrodes in. That's why I needed the atmosphere. Without it, the water would just boil immediately and I'd be hanging around in a steamy atmosphere. The electrolysis separated the hydrogen and oxygen from each other. Now, the trailer was full of even more oxygen and also hydrogen. Pretty dangerous, actually. Then I fired up the atmospheric regulator. I know I just said it doesn't recognize hydrogen, but it does know how to yank oxygen out of the air. I broke all the safeties and set it to pull 100% of the oxygen out. After it was done, all that was left in the trailer was hydrogen. That's why I started out with an atmosphere of pure oxygen, so the regulator could separate it later. Then I cycled the rover's airlock with the inner door open. The airlock thought it was evacuating itself, but it was actually evacuating the whole trailer. The air was stored in the airlock's holding tank. And there you have it, a tank of pure hydrogen. I carried the airlock's holding tank to the MAV and transferred the contents to the MAV's hydrogen tanks. I've said this many times before, but hooray for standardized valve systems. Finally, I fired up the fuel plant, and it got to work making the additional fuel I'd need. I'll need to go through this process several more times as the launch date approaches. I'm even going to electrolyze my urine. That'll make for a pleasant smell in the trailer. If I survive this, I'll tell people I was pissing rocket fuel. 1900 hours, 22 minutes. Johansson. Hello, Mark. 1900 hours, 23 minutes. MAV. Johansson? Holy crap. They finally letting you talk to me directly? 1900 hours, 24 minutes. Johansson. Yes. NASA gave the okay for direct communication an hour ago. We're only 35 light seconds apart, so we can talk in near real time. I just set up the system and I'm testing it out. 1900 hours, 24 minutes. MAV. What took them so long to let us talk? 1900 hours, 25 minutes. Johansson. The site team was worried about personality conflicts. 1900 hours, 25 minutes. MAV. What? Just because you guys abandoned me on a godforsaken planet with no chance of survival? 1900 hours, 26 minutes. Johansson. Funny. Don't make that kind of joke with Lewis. 1900 hours, 27 minutes. MAV. Roger. So, thanks for coming back to get me. 1900 hours, 27 minutes. Johansson. It's the least we could do. How is the MAV retrofit going? 1900 hours, 28 minutes. MAV. So far, so good. NASA put a lot of thought into the procedures. They work. That's not to say they're easy. I spent the last 3 days removing hull panel 19 and the front window. Even in Mars G, they're heavy motherfuckers. 1900 hours, 29 minutes. Johansson. When we pick you up, I will make wild, passionate love to you. Prepare your body. 1900 hours, 29 minutes. Johansson. I didn't type that. That was Martinez. I stepped away from the console for like 10 seconds. 1900 hours, 29 minutes. MAV. I've really missed you guys. Log entry. Sol 543. I'm done? I think I'm done. I did everything on the list. The MAV is ready to fly. And in 6 sols, that's just what it'll do. I hope. It might not launch at all. I did remove an engine after all. I could have fucked up all sorts of things during that process, and there's no way to test the ascent stage. Once you light it, it's lit. Everything else, however, will go through tests from now until launch. Some done by me, some done remotely by NASA. They're not telling me the failure odds, but I'm guessing they're the highest in history. Yuri Gagarin had a much more reliable and safe ship than I do. And Soviet ships were death traps. All right, Lewis said. Tomorrow's the big day. The crew floated in the wreck. They had halted the rotation of the ship in preparation for the upcoming operation. I'm ready, Martinez said. Johansson threw everything she could at me. I got all scenarios to orbit. Everything other than catastrophic failures, Johansson corrected. Well, yeah, Martinez said. Kind of pointless to simulate an ascent explosion. Nothing we can do.
Some FaLi work.
Vogel, Lewis said. How's the course? It is perfect, Vogel said.
Roll to
We
pop.
are within 1 meter of projected path, 2 centimeters per second of projected velocity. Good, she said. Beck, how about you? Everything's all set up, Commander, Beck said. The tethers are linked and spooled in airlock 2. My suit and MMU are prepped and ready. Okay, the battle plan is pretty obvious, Lewis said. She grabbed a handhold on the wall to halt the slow drift she had acquired. Martinez will fly the MAV. Johansson will SISOP the ascent. Beck and Vogel, I want you in airlock 2 with the outer door open before the MAV even launches. You'll have to wait 52 minutes, but I don't want to risk any technical glitches with the airlock or your suits. Once we reach intercept, it'll be Beck's job to get locked. You might be in bad shape when I get him, Beck said. The stripped-down MAV will get up to 12 Gs during the launch. He could be unconscious and may even have internal bleeding. Just as well you're our doctor, Lewis said. Vogel, if all goes according to plan, you're pulling Beck and want me back aboard with the tether. If things go wrong, you're Beck's backup. Yeah, Vogel said. I wish there was more we could do right now, Lewis said. But all we have left is the wait. Your work schedules are cleared. All scientific experiments are suspended. Sleep if you can. Run diagnostics on your equipment if you can't. You'll get him, Commander, Martinez said as the others floated out. 24 hours from now, Mark Watney will be right here in this room. Let's hope so, Major, Lewis said. Final checks for this ship to complete, Mitch said into his headset. Timekeeper.
And well said.
Go flight, said the timekeeper. Time until MAV launch. 16 hours, 9 minutes, 40 seconds. Mark. Copy that. All stations, flight director shift change. He took his headset off and rubbed his eyes. Brendan Hutch took the headset from him and put it on. All stations, flight director is now Brendan Hutch. Call me if anything happens, Mitch said. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Get some sleep, boss, Brendan said. Venkit watched from the observation booth. I asked the timekeeper, he mumbled. It's on the huge mission clock in the center screen. He's nervous, Annie said. You don't often see it, but that's what Mitch Henderson looks like when he's nervous. He double and triple checks everything. Fair enough, Venkit said. They're camping out on the lawn, by the way, Annie said. Reporters from all over the world. Our press rooms just don't have enough space. The media loves the drama, he sighed. It'll be over tomorrow, one way or another. What's our role in all this? Annie said. If something goes wrong, what can Mission Control do? Nothing, Venkit said. Not a damn thing. Nothing? It's all happening 12 light minutes away. That means it takes 24 minutes for them to get the answer to any question they ask. The whole launch is 12 minutes long. They're on their own. So we're completely helpless. Yes, Venkit said. Sucks, doesn't it? Log entry. Sol 549. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't shitting myself. In 4 hours, I'm going to ride a giant explosion into orbit. This is something I've done a few times before, but never with a jury-rigged mess like this. Right now, I'm sitting in the MAV. I'm suited up because there's a big hole in the front of the ship where the window...
Okay, that's the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have requests or comments, let me know. Take care, everyone.